You don't answer to us. We love you. Bye, brother. Bill can't wait for that guy to come in.
Called a Wednesday today. Kamala's priorities, China's priorities, the extreme lockdown measures in Australia, and Victoria wants to hear from you regarding its new dog ordinances, all that and more coming up with today's Wade and Carter show. I'm done. Going home. It's best intro ever. Time to go home.
You just sounded so Canadian. Best intro ever.
Ever. Hey, good morning.
Best intro
ever.
It had a little bit of it sounded very Canadian, but it also had a little bit of fat bastard in it. How much for the little boy? Right? Best
Get
intro.
in my belly.
Best intro ever. I'm gonna put him in my belly. Let's do the weather.
Let's do it. Wade and Carter weather.
Brought to you by the good people at Deal and Feed. They want to help you grow vegetables to put in your belly.
You sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Damn it. Who cares about your freedom? I'm a Democrat now. I'm Arnold. That's what he said.
Yeah,
that is what he said. Who cares about your freedom?
Yeah.
71 degrees in Victoria, Texas, heading to a high today of 98. Ash said when he walked out this morning, it was 60.
69.
69.
Right on the edge, right on that cusp.
Yeah, I mean, it's practically fall. Is this not the weirdest year ever? Because the fact that I can just remember the other day when there was ice all over the ground and the grid was compromised, and now we've already gone all the way through summer.
We have not yet, I don't think, had one day where we've hit 100 yet for the summer.
No. I mean, in my car, 137, when I get in.
Yeah, burn your back of your legs wearing shorts.
It's like, why did you get black interior? It looks so nice. There's like 2 tan stripes on it where the skin has come off my legs onto the seat.
I didn't know you had leather interior.
Right.
I didn't.
It was Lavour. Fine Corinthian pleather. That Mike Myers is a funny dude.
He had his moments.
That's to be that free, and I love the way that we cut up, and it is spontaneous, which it's interesting that people would give someone like Jim Carrey, for example, they would give someone like Jim Carrey $50 million and go, okay, go be funny. They have no idea what he's going to do. He doesn't know what he's going to do. And he, when I try to be funny, it doesn't work. I don't tell jokes. There's things that we do that make us laugh, which is why we do the show. And fortunately, other people seem to laugh along with us. But it's very interesting to me that, like when he did, like the Grinch movie, that was really a weird flick. It wasn't a kid's show. and the one where he was the Mask, also very dark, weird movie.
Yeah.
He's a weird dude. But he's funny.
Bruce Almighty might have been one of his best ones.
What about the one where he couldn't tell a lie?
Oh, yeah, that one was pretty good, too.
And then there was the one about us, Dumb and Dumber.
Pet Detective.
That was pretty funny.
Those Ace Venturas, they were pretty good. Yeah, Dumb and Dumber was good. So there we go.
There you go.
Fellow Canadian, as is Mike Myers. Speaking of which, fellow
You-
Canadians, Felix Auger-Aliassime yesterday,
Totally by chance that we just talked about three, you and two Canadians.
and now the fourth, Felix Auger-Aliassime, advances at the
The
U.S.
Muslim
Open.
Canadian tennis player.
French, yes.
French Muslim Canadian tennis
I
player.
think he's from Morocco.
Okay. He's from Morocco, but he plays for
I don't know.
Canada. That's like
No,
you
he's
being
born
an American.
Born in Canada.
His parents and your parents were spying together.
He was I believe that I saw the stat, the first men's player born in the 2000s to qualify for a major semi.
Whereas every female was
Yeah,
born
born,
after
yes,
2000,
exactly.
except Serena.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's like the
And Venus.
dame old madam of
Yeah.
tennis at like 32.
Yeah, but he won on plenty young kid out of France or out of Spain who was 18, Carlos Alcaraz, and he ended up pulling up lame on a shot in a second set. He was down 3-1 and could not continue. So Felix wins.
Bobby Leister's going to make a Caldo Wednesday run to Veracruz today. Tell me this, Ash. Why is it? Now you don't have tennis at UHV.
No.
What is it about the physicality of women, or the durability of women, or is it the apathy? Is it they decide to quit and have families when they're still able to do so? How can it be that it's not like a phenom? It's not like Tiger Woods came along at 20 and was good enough to play with the big boys. How can it be that women's tennis, that you can be so good by the time you're 20, 21, that you can overtake the experience of a woman who's 28, 29, 30? Just the experience of a Navratilova or a Serena Williams. How do you physically beat them when you're 20 and they're 30 and have had 27 majors?
I don't know. I'm not a female. I couldn't answer that question.
But could you identify as a female, get us some federal funding?
And we could study it? No.
Right. Why couldn't we? They're doing gender studies and back. Speaking of,
I'm guessing that physically their peak is a little earlier maybe than males for that sort of thing. I don't know. I don't honestly don't know. But it seems there are some sports where that does play a role. And it seems the individual sports, right? Tennis, gymnastics, figure skating.
Women's golf is a young woman's sport.
Women's golf for sure. But then you look at track and field. There's no 14 to 16-year-olds winning the 100 meters at the Olympics.
No, they're all in their 20s and went to college somewhere.
Yeah. You look at women's soccer, women's hockey, the team sports. They're all in their 20s. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. But for the males, this Carlos kid yesterday was 18. He's the youngest, I think, quarterfinalist ever in the U.S. Open since the Open era, which is the late 60s when they started letting professionals play. But, and I remember Tracy Austin as a phenom in the late 70s, early 80s. But really nobody I think the
U.S.
youngest
Open used to be an amateur tournament?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
They all were up until that late 60s era. So, but yeah, interesting, but pretty good tennis played yesterday. I enjoy watching.
Yeah, you're a tennis
the
buff.
majors.
Yeah.
Stuart Martin checking in. Diana Hawes, good morning. Andy Ria Jr. Ricky King is in. Rena Scherer, Bobby Leister. Happy Caldo Wednesday to you. Scott Snow, Marvin Mickish, Judge Posey, good morning. Diane Tippett is checking in. Stephanie Miller checking in. Brandishing her Canadian flag this morning. David Glass.
Good morning, Judge Posey.
Kendra Douglas, H.R. Mallory, Justin Glass is in. The Leisterometer holding steady at 1,003. Robin Moore Knipling, Stephen Kidder, Tracy Price, Lisa.
Saw Robin Moore Knipling yesterday. She was at Veracruz. Yes.
Patrick Strauss, Janelle Sarles, Jennifer Rayburn.
Carrie Bump to Bump, Bump, Bump.
Karen Webb. The Iceman is in. Jennifer Rayburn, probably my favorite Mike Myers movie. So I Married an Axe Murderer. A lot of his characters that evolved or appeared in later films really got their genesis in that movie. Robert Brown is in. Sky Sanchez, good morning. Daniel White. Lorena Bargenbrook, Tom Price, Jim Simpson,
Hey, Jimmy.
Chris Conrad. Asked about the Canadian phenom Carling Bassett. Terry Murray, good morning. James Kurth, Michelle Torres is in. Good morning to the folks at Deerland Feed. And Amanda Smith King. Jack said hello. Good morning.
Fantastic.
So keeping it light, I saw an interesting little tidbit
Hello,
on social media yesterday. Tell us how old you are by a concert you attended. And
Foreigner.
was that the first? What's the first one you went to? The Beach Boys was my first concert with my cousin Guy. He took me and my two brothers and I think his girlfriend at the time. The first concert I was ever semi-allowed to go to solo, my friend's parents came with us, but it was, GA Rush seating on the floor. So they sat in the seats and we went to the floor. It was the Go-Go's.
Oh, cool. We got the beat.
Yeah.
Of course, if I'd been a little bit older, I could have seen ZZ Top right here at Sun Valley back in the day. But I don't recall. I don't think I ever went to I probably went to a couple of shows at the rodeo in Houston when I was in high school. But I don't think I ever went to a concert until I went to Texas. And I think the first one I ever went to was Foreigner way back when. I've seen a bunch of them. I saw Elton John. I saw Journey.
Did you ever camp out for tickets?
No.
We did that for In Excess. That was twice I saw them. Awesome show.
I think I've seen them as well. They're the ones that had the new singer, right?
They do now, yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw them in the Valley, believe it or not,
With the new singer.
singer. Still quite entertaining. Saw Duran Duran in the Valley.
Ricky King, Sammy Hagar with Night Ranger.
Oh.
3 Lockbox Tour.
So the 3 Lockbox Tour, wouldn't that involve man, who's that kind of second tier guitar player? It'll come to me.
Carlos Santana.
No. This
second tier.
Well, so who sang 3 Lockbox? Hagar? Night Ranger, I remember them. No, the guy I'm thinking of, I need Dana Wagner.
Yeah. Well. So when you go to Cabo,
yes, sir.
On any given night at probably 3 or 4 bars in Cabo, is there a Carlos Santana imitator? Tribute artist?
Yeah, every night.
Yeah.
Sure. And there's also like a lot of Americanized music. It's very much a tourist town. And it's that good balance between what Americans look at as tremendous value as far as being inexpensive and yet comfortable. There's places you can go in Mexico and get great deals, but nobody there speaks English. No. Go down into the interior of Mexico.
And you still don't get as good a deal as you think you're getting.
Right. And now that all the Mexican trinkets are made in China, I mean,
Speaking of made in China, folks, there's an eye-opening piece in the Wall Street Journal this morning about the nuclear arms program that China is, I say silently, but I don't know that it's so silent. I just think that the only silence on this is a lack of response from Joe Biden because he is so beholden to the Chinese Communist Party. But given their excursions into Taiwanese airspace, the fact that they are building nuclear weapons, they are just taunting and daring Joe Biden to do or say anything,
and he
won't. And he's probably been told not to by the Chinese Communist Party.
Absolutely. They're like, sit back and take it, Joe. BJ Nelson says she's not a concert fan. She doesn't like a group mentality. They just have George Strait come to their home and play.
Who's that?
BJ. Yeah. Good morning, Sheriff Louderback. Sheriff Louderback over in Jackson County, holding down the fort, so to speak. Hope things are going well over there. They are. He demands it. You don't hear a lot of ruckus out of Jackson County.
Not at all. BJ, I think there was a time, though, when in probably the 80s and 90s where I was a big concert goer, but kind of got There was a time when electronics started getting really involved in a lot of the production of albums, CDs, cassettes. And then when you saw that same band live, they sucked.
Yeah, they weren't as good with
No.
all the auto tune and all that.
And then once they stripped it back, concerts became pretty good again. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the 20-minute solo in the middle of that.
The Iceman says Chinese chopsticks come from China. We're going to get cut off by Facebook.
You know what I've noticed lately, though? A lot more products that I've been purchasing have been made in India,
Good.
Taiwan. So
That's the Trump
maybe
effect.
maybe it's starting to have some effect around the globe. But on a serious note, China analysis for Chinese nuclear weapon program. Somebody said if this was the Cold War and that was the Soviet Union, we'd be at DEFCON 3. Why has the clock, the doomsday clock, not edged closer to midnight? Remember how they were so worried, and we pointed this out yesterday, that this thing was ticking towards midnight when Donald Trump was elected?
Because Biden's doing nothing but great things, Ash. Great things.
Why isn't the fact that China's building a nuclear arsenal that we haven't seen the likes of in this world since the Cold War, and the doomsday clock is not inching any closer?
So James Curtis says China has the capability to sink our aircraft carriers. They ain't no joke. I'm telling you, we would get our butts kicked. What do we do about it? What do we do?
Well, unfortunately, we've had 3 generations of Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines that we have not taught to go and fight to win a fight politically. I think they're still, let me take that back. They've probably been taught to win a fight. They haven't been allowed to go win a war. The political maneuverings of our leaders have not allowed us to win a war since World War II.
What are we heading towards a time where we just have to turn ourselves over to China? I mean, economically, they own us. They're buying up our farmland. They manufacture everything that's important. Look at our auto industry is crippled. GM closing plants because they can't get a chip from China. Can you imagine that? That's like you quit selling shoes because you can't get laces.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand what we do.
You know, I don't get it either. The simple answer would be let's bring these industries back to the U.S. or somewhere else.
Isn't that what Trump said? Didn't Donald Trump say, let's be America first? Let's bring if we quit buying stuff from China, they can quit building nuclear weapons. They don't have the income if we quit buying stuff from them. Jordan Bale says we're too busy fighting amongst ourselves.
Yeah, true story.
I don't know what's going to happen there.
Don't fight amongst yourselves if you're stuck on the side of the road. Only one call needs to be made. Allen's Record Service, 578-6300. Our go-to tow, the only number we ever call when we need a tow, a jump start.
I heard a deal on another channel yesterday, and I listened to ads on other stations, and some of our advertisers do advertise on other stations, and I'm sorry, they're just not as interesting. But there was one where they said that Allen's Record Service has 35 pieces of equipment. Now, I don't know, what does that mean? Like, I mean, other people have like 4 trucks and 30 wrenches, but Allen has a 75-ton crane. I mean, they've got, if you drive out there on Highway 59 and look to the left as you're going out of town, you will see the big trucks. It's an impressive sight. There's millions of dollars worth of trucks out there.
They will send the right truck for your needs. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Give them a call, 578-6300.
And they talk amongst themselves on radios provided by the VCS companies. If you need a 2-way radio, if you need a first responder, FirstNet network to allow you to communicate amongst yourselves.
Probably install a CB radio if you wanted to go.
Breaker 19 and get me that Cosmic Cowboy.
Talk to Teddy Bear.
Y'all come back and talk to Teddy Bear. Red Seagull. You gotta do a little teddy
Red
bear.
Sovine.
Sovine. Fred Sovine. Sorry. Red Seagull still around.
Yes.
He's buddies with our buddies at
Yes.
Blue Bonnet. Anyway, VCS Companies is your communication hub. Chesnick Furniture Company for 101 years in downtown Victoria. Bobby Leon and his family have been providing you with the ability to just do better at Chesnick. Chesnick and Love make your house a home. Go downtown. It's beautiful. I drove by yesterday, and there was a gentleman in there looking at some furniture, and it really looked iconic to look through the
Big
shopping
Yeah.
windows and to see a man in there pointing out the benefits of some furniture was very nice. If you go by today and buy it, they'll deliver it today. Not tonight. This ain't no gallery furniture. This is Chesnick furniture. They'll bring it out there this afternoon. Go by and see them. Tell them Wade and Carter sent you. And then, of course, it is called a Wednesday. Every Wednesday we chat it up because every Wednesday is the only day that you can get a big, hot, heaping, huge trash can full of Caldo at Veracruz.
And
Get by
it's so
there today. It is so good and good for you. What do you got there, Blue
Well,
Bonnet
you can
Ranch?
pick up the 2021 Blue Bonnet Youth Ranch raffle tickets. Tickets are $20 each, 6 for $100. Drawing was supposed to be scheduled for the Monday night event at Schrader Hall, but I believe everything's been postponed. But this raffle's still going on. Some great prizes available. They've got a Browning Satori Lightning 12-gauge shotgun. They've got
Very
a nice
nice.
Valentine's getaway to New Braunfels, Texas. They've got round trip tickets to anywhere in the lower 48 states.
Very
Courtesy
nice.
United and SkyWest, so you can fly out of Victoria and go wherever you want to go.
Fly to Houston, they bring you right back.
Yeah, they've got a hill country getaway, 5-day, 4-night stay at George Strait's Tapatio Springs. So some great prizes available, $20 each. All the money and all the proceeds will benefit the kids at the Blue Bonnet Youth Ranch.
Very nice. It's a great cause. It's close to our hearts, and it's one of those places that if you've been blessed to have a loving family, if you've got children, if you've thought about what it takes to raise a child, this facility, this endeavor ranch takes care of a number and has had just a tremendous success rate with their kids graduating, going on to college, doing great things.
Emphasis on education. They have to work the ranch. They
Absolutely.
have to be involved. They make the kids be involved in extracurricular activities, whether it's sports, band. They've got to be involved in something else other than just school and the ranch. So they've done a great job of raising kids, and former kids are on their board. Former kids are business leaders in our community and have gone on elsewhere. It's just awesome.
Well,
as soon as we find out the rescheduled dates, we'll let you know.
And through our association, I've had the opportunity to meet lots of the kids that have gone through the youth ranch, and I've never found one that wasn't just eternally grateful. They're very humble folks, and they're very happy to have been there. The states come in and put a lot of regulations on them and really gives the ranch some challenges, but the big picture is still wonderful for the children.
The mastermind of the 9/11 terror attacks, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, appeared in court yesterday for pre-trial proceedings 20 years later. And this thing is finally, maybe, playing out. Are you worried that something's going to happen on Saturday, 20th anniversary, or is the victory in Afghanistan enough for the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and the rest for now?
I'm not going to be surprised if they don't make some kind of bold, flamboyant statement in Afghanistan. I'm not sure they've had enough time to coordinate something here on our soil, which would be the dagger if they found a way to attack one of our major ports. Or, I mean, we don't ever talk about this kind of stuff, but you find some way to get some kind of little dirty nuke and go put it off in the middle of the Port of Houston, you create problems. County Commissioner Clint Ives and I were visiting just yesterday, and he pointed out that at any given time, there's only 48 hours worth of food in Victoria, Texas. That's how many turns HEB gets on merchandise. That's how there's people in there every night restocking the shelves. You disrupt that supply line for a day, and 2 days later, there's no food here.
Well, as
for
we
a
saw
day.
when COVID shut down.
Yeah, but if they can
right?
do it with toilet paper, they can do it with hamburger meat. Iceman says, no problem. We will have ice.
Lots of delays of that trial now. I guess the defense is seeking to throw out any confessions obtained by the FBI. Waterboarding and such.
They're not going to do that anymore?
I don't think they can now, but they did then apparently, and they want to throw those confessions out.
Well, let me ask you, at what point, we all like to be tough, and you see that guy that's being held in the chair with the duct tape and beat up for 2 or 3 days, and, I mean, you wonder how long would it be before you said, okay, I did it.
Dad just kept telling me it was for my own good.
Right, even though, right. No, you wonder how long could you hold out if you had something to tell them, and would you tell them anything just to get them off of you? Yeah, I don't know.
Afghanistan's new government?
The Taliban?
Yeah. Apparently,
so Biden's going to recognize them and then send them aid.
Foreign aid, yep, it's coming.
It is so tragic that we have, again, still, as long as there is a homeless veteran or the VA sucks in this country.
I heard a stat yesterday, just of the 600,000 estimated homeless people in this country, half of them are vets.
So there's
300,000 homeless vets on the streets of this country.
Lots of mental stress, lots of issues. We owe these people. Why send money to foreign governments who helped create our homeless vet problem?
Who hate our guts.
Who shout death to America in the streets. And those are even,
but it was peaceful chanting.
Those are even the good ones. I could never imagine sending a dime to the Taliban. Well, you're going to sway them to be your friends? They've already fought Russia. What are they going to do for you? There are just certain rats that need to be eliminated.
And here's a sign of Iceman asks, why do we hand out to the entire world but yet have so many problems stateside? I've often wondered, where is the accountability?
There is none. No.
To the foreign aid.
No.
And the conditions upon which, and I get it, some money goes to this country and they buy a bunch of John Deere farm equipment.
Just send them the John Deere farm equipment.
Caterpillar. I mean, it's.
I'd rather the government pay John Deere and then send the farm equipment, then send them money, let them skim 25% for the elite, and then come back and buy it.
Then buy the stuff. I mean, I understand some of that stuff happens, but
you sound like Donald Trump. Donald Trump said, "America first. Let's take care of our own. Let's take care of the veterans." You'll remember he invested a lot in the VA system.
I hear a lot of veterans right now, and I don't know where the president and others are excluded from this, but when I see posts by veterans and having talked to others who are sitting there going, I couldn't lose a pair of underwear when I was deployed without having to fill out a bunch of paperwork and being taken to task for it. Yet we can just leave $83 billion of equipment behind in enemy hands.
And people talk about that like that's no big deal. $83 billion.
It is no big deal when we're
throwing. It's a lot of Hummers.
Well,
it's a lot of helicopters.
But here's how they've dumbed it down. We're talking $3.5 trillion in a spending bill. We're talking $1.5 trillion in infrastructure. We're talking $6 trillion in COVID relief. That's how they dumb it down, so that $83 billion left behind doesn't sound like much.
83 billion left behind.
In equipment that will be used against us at some point.
And right there,
to kill us.
That's foreign aid to the Taliban. You gave them state-of-the-art military equipment. They are by far the best armed military in the Middle East.
Yeah, it's not like we gave a bunch of musket loaders left over from the Civil War or anything like that.
Yeah. Torrin Bale says the problem is so little of the money actually gets to the people in the foreign countries. And that's the truth. We've talked about that here.
That's where my accountability, where are the conditions and the accountability for this stuff? I mean, all you have to do, if you remember the pallets of cash they found in Iraq after they killed Saddam Hussein. Remember that?
Exactly.
It was all American dollars, money that we had sent a bunch of it over there.
James Kerr says, thanks. I'm pissed off again. Sorry, James. Hey, let's take a break.
James.
Let's take a quick break, and I want you to tell me a little bit about your vice president and what she's doing to help the world. Folks, the Atzenhofer dealership since 1926 is quite simply Victoria's dealership. Atzenhofer and Atzenhofer.com are your go-to place for a new Cadillac, Mazda, Mitsubishi, or Chevrolet. There are lots of really nice and vetted pre-owned vehicles on their lot. And now you can go in, what they're doing, you can go in and order a vehicle and they will have it made for you. They're just not getting an allotment of a whole bunch of new ones because everybody's being made to order. It's kind of like Subway, but for cars. Go buy Atzenhofer, and it takes a little longer. But go buy Atzenhofer today and find out. You'll be amazed that your new vehicle, your used vehicle may be worth more than you paid for it.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. White Trash Services, 550-1826. Let BJ Nelson, Scott Nelson, Carl Steffens, their team take care of your trash needs and let you have a trash-tastic day. 7-county region capabilities in the city if you need white trash site services or a big roll-off dumpster for a project. Just call White Trash Services at 550-1826. Razor IT Solutions. I called our buddy JP yesterday and said, hey, I want you to set up a page where people can go in. Now, here's our goal. We got a big party coming up October 8th, and we really, really need you folks to show up. October the 8th, Club Westerner, 7:30 to midnight. And what I want to do is go in and create a red button, buy your ticket here. Your ticket's $10. All we're doing is paying for the venue and paying for the band. You can bring your own bottle.
Favors.
Yeah, you can bring your own bottle. You can come in and buy. They have the coldest beer in the world at Club Western. You can come in there and buy your beer there. It's cheaper than going anywhere else in town. And then the band's going to be exquisite and a lot of fun. And the more people that are there, the better party it's going to be. So we want you to come. This is like, hey, my parents are out of town. Why don't you, let's have a party at my house. Everybody kick in, we'll buy a keg. It's kind of like that. Bring your $10. So here's the thought.
It's kind of exactly like that.
It's exactly like that. So I tell JP that I want a little red button so you can pay like Venmo or whatever, PayPal. I've got them both. And then we're going to make a list. And when you come in, you go, oh, it's Ash and Cheryl, party of two. And I just mark through your name. And then you go on in because you've already paid. Well, JP said he needed to noodle on that. So he's going to noodle on how to do it. I don't know what that means. Yes, Rena Shear says she's already mailed her
samples.
Fantastic.
Did it buy a table?
Absolutely, yeah. It's fantastic. The tables are $300, and I tell everybody it'll let you seat 12.
And he gets a birdie picker.
Yeah, but I'm not sure what you really get for it. It's probably you should come on in. Steve Kidder says the beer's as cold as your ex-wife's heart, so just come on in.
Not yours, just in general.
Yeah.
The same.
No, he must have met her somewhere. Law offices of Steve Kidder. If you make a mistake, let Steve help you minimize the damage. Steve doesn't tell you.
He'll warm up your ex-wife's heart.
Right. In fact, Steve may date your ex-wife if you'd like to. Steve can, if you think she's cheating, turn Steve on to her. If he can pick her up, you know she's a cheater. Call Steve Kidder. If you make a mistake, let him help you. If somebody accuses you of making a mistake and you know you didn't, he's a guy that you can say, look, here's what happened. I wasn't really running. And the next thing you know, Steve Kidder will have you properly represented. And then the complete family of supplements, of smoothies, wraps, paninis,
healthy eating alternatives.
You name it. Yeah. You name it. Right here on Red River and also up on the north side next to Buffalo Wild Wings. Fantastic.
On a Mortgage wants a table. Done, Terry. Done.
To see who? We need to set a day to see in next couple weeks. Oh yeah, Dawn wants to go visit with Steve Kidder. I think she's trying to get a post nut. And then now that we're married, she wants everything.
Iceman asked if there's dockside parking at the venue. Yes, there is.
Yes, there is, and it's free.
Rock the yacht! Rock the yacht!
Free parking at the marina. It's going to be a great party. But I told Ash yesterday, I said, I have that sinking feeling that, you have a party, everybody buys the tables because they all wanted to be successful, but then they don't really get 12 people to come. And the next thing you know, we get there and there's like 50 people, and it's just more of a happy hour than it is a party. I want 250, 300 people there. Bring your friends. Please. Say, come on, let's go hear this new band.
Bring your family.
It's going to be
It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, bring your family. It's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
Don't bring your kids.
No.
But bring your family.
Yes,
Nah.
Someone's going to drive you home.
I don't want your kids there. Unless your kids are 21. Yeah, don't bring them.
So our vice
Tell
president.
me about Kamala.
Yeah, she thinks this is where the priorities of this administration are, folks. It is more important for Kamala Harris to go help out Gavin Newsom than to spend any time helping out, as we reported yesterday morning, and then as the day went on, others started picking this up.
I'm very proud of that. Let's take a quick aside, and I'll tell you that every day when I leave here, every time that I leave here, I get in the car, and if I'm not listening to Brother Gary and Ralph, which I do often, I'll flip it over and listen for a second to Glenn Beck. And when Glenn Beck is on, every morning, one of our top 4 or 5 stories is his lead story. Now, this is a nationally syndicated guy with 5 million listeners.
It's not good enough to be the lead on our show.
No, but I'm saying we are on top of what's going on. And yesterday, after we had talked about what was the subject?
It was the late-breaking news that the Taliban had commandeered an airport in Afghanistan and had a bunch of plane loads of Americans and Afghanis. The details were a little sketchy at that point, but apparently a bunch of people trying to get out of the country were not being allowed to leave the airport. The Taliban had commandeered the airport and were holding the planes and those on them hostage, basically waiting for money to come from the U.S. to allow them to take off.
Justice Swatowski says facts, not BS. But I'll tell you that
I always spew enough of that.
A little of that. But Sean Hannity led with that story 8 hours later. So that's how cutting edge Ash really is, in all honesty.
But the safety, the lack of concern for Americans. And I listened to one woman who was actually interviewed by, I think it was CBS News, stuck in Afghanistan, American citizen. I don't know if she was born in Afghanistan, or had Afghanistan roots, but is an American citizen, so it doesn't really matter. She was trying to get out and could not. The Taliban were keeping her from getting to the airport. She was at the airport at one point and could see, this must have been last week, she could see Americans on the other side of the fence. The Taliban weren't letting her through. She could see our army on the other side, and they weren't letting her through. She's still stuck there to this day. But Kamala Harris thinks it's more important to save Gavin Newsom's political career than save the lives of Americans stuck in Afghanistan and those who helped us. She thinks it's more important to go on the campaign trail for Gavin Newsom in his embattled bid for re-election as governor and to survive the recall election than it is to go and spend any time or effort, or that time and effort, in addition to what she might already be doing, which I don't think is much. But it's more important for her to go help Gavin Newsom win re-election than to help, yesterday, what was it, 6 plane loads? So probably, if you think what a plane holds, at least 200, probably more.
More than that.
So we're probably talking anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 Americans or people who should be getting out of the country.
Now, Chuck Schumer came out yesterday and said that all the Americans that wanted out of Afghanistan were out.
Yeah, not according to this lady. She wanted out and couldn't get out.
But now, who do you think knows? The lady that's there in Afghanistan or Chuck Schumer in Washington, D.C.? I'm going to go with Chuck. He's with the elite. And let me give you an example of why you go with the elite. Yesterday, AOC, Alicia Ocasio-Cortez,
Alexandria.
whatever, former bartender, bug-eyed chick up in New York. She blurted out that she's not proud at all of our governor, Greg Abbott, signing this time-limiting abortion bill into law. Says that people that have abortions after 6 weeks have recourse against the doctors that do it. And all Abbott's doing is capitalizing on the fact that we live in a litigious society. Some lady's going to go in there and go, here's a picture of my positive test on August 1st, and you gave me an abortion in October. I'm suing you. That's all he's doing.
Capping it at $10,000.
Right. So AOC.
Actually, I think they were clever enough to write it to get around the Supreme Court, as the Supreme Court said, we're not going to rule on this yet. It needs to go through the lower court process and see what happens in the court challenges and the appeals that come as a result of that.
So James Kurth points out the obvious. Nobody in Texas cares about AOC, but let me just flip the narrative. She believes that she's with the elite. She believes that she's part of the regime, that her wishes on behalf of Texans, her constituency in New York gives her the authority to make comments about what happens in the state of Texas. Can you imagine if Michael Cloud, who is exactly like AOC, a member of the House of Representatives, if Michael Cloud decided to fly off the handle about what's going on in California, the people in California go, take a hike, Mike. We don't care what you think. But somehow AOC does it, and it makes national news because that great political mind, AOC, the genius behind the Green New Deal, somehow has decided that Texans aren't acting right, and she's got a voice about it.
Well, it's deflection from what the ineptitude or ineptness of the Biden administration. They can't focus on anything he's done. So now they have to go after things that are going on in Texas. Yesterday, Governor Abbott signed, or was it the day before? I think it was yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
Signed the bill that restricts voting rights. I laughed at the way this was presented. If you go back to where we were pre-COVID, pretend COVID didn't happen. This bill would actually, which is now a law, would be championed for expanding access to voting.
Right, because it lengthens early voting periods. It allows drive-through voting.
No,
I believe
I don't think this one does. But it allows for more time to vote. Polls can be open later. They can be open, I think 12 hours.
Right.
But they're not set not 7 to 7. You could open it 9 to 9 if you wanted to. Make it easier for folks who maybe work shift work.
There's Georgia Gutierrez. Good morning, ma'am. Hope you're doing great. I don't understand why anybody. It's just all politics, And once you ferret through the politics, you realize the lunacy. And I don't understand why it's a partisan issue. I don't get it. I guess the Democrats believe. So I couldn't believe
you have to have ID, and you have to be able to prove who you are if you send a ballot in by mail. But basically, the gist of Senate Bill 1 and what I call the Voting Integrity Act, or law now. I don't know what the exact official name of it is, but it's interesting that we're also the country looked to provide oversight and administration of elections in other countries, where we're expected to run elections where people are vouched for who they are and cast one vote,
right,
and not several votes, as probably was done in the past in some of these former dictatorial nations that are now trying democracy. But the rules that we put in place in these other nations are not good enough for this country.
Interesting. Sky Sanchez says the Democrats do three things: dismiss, divide, and deflect. I don't know what you do. I you know I found it. You'll recall several months ago, Joe Biden said that you can't do this, this, and this because the inner city black, quote, the inner city black doesn't know how to turn on the computer. Inner city blacks don't get on the internet. They're just not wired that way. That's a Joe Biden comment. And now you've got
neither could the rural blacks.
But they wanted to have voting on Sunday because if you'll recall, Ash, they wanted to have voting on Sunday because, well, that's when they go to church. So since the blacks out of the house anyway, they can go vote that day. I mean, that's exactly what the Democrats said.
Pretty much, yep.
Well, see, Sunday's a good day for blacks to vote because that's the day they go to church. The most racist garbage you ever hear comes out in the form of sincere comment by the Democrats.
And primarily our president.
I was just like stunned. Number one, that's a total misnomer. I mean, but number two, how bizarre was that, well, that's the day they go to church. So let them vote on that day.
Isn't that the day most people go to church?
I think so, but I just thought it was
Adventists, maybe.
I don't know. Mormons, I don't know.
No, there go Sundays.
I don't know. That's a cult.
There's a few. Scientology, they just move in and stay there forever.
They go when Tom Cruise tells them to.
But it just, I don't know. To bring it all full circle.
Now,
back to my point. Kamala Harris thinks it's more important to help one American who's privileged. You want the definition of white privilege, if there is any, is Gavin Newsom. But Kamala Harris thinks it's more important to help Gavin in his plight than the thousands of Americans still left behind in Afghanistan. So, what are you trying to do here?
Roy Gutierrez says, I want to buy a table for 13 special people. Is that possible? Yes, it's possible. You'll have to stand.
Plus one.
You're the plus one.
You're the one in the corner.
$300 and you're in.
Nobody puts Roy in the corner.
Nobody puts baby in the corner. I love it. Folks, reach out, Roy. You know how to reach out to me, but we actually do on some of these tables, and thank you, Rena. We do need to go ahead and collect because I want to pay the venue and pay the band and be done with it and say, hey, it's a done deal.
Yep.
Done deal.
Speaking of done deal, Motto Mortgage, Terry Murray can help you get your best deal.
541-5454. It's simply a no-brainer. It doesn't cost you a thing. You're like, well, Carter, how are you telling me this? It's free? No, it's not free. But what she does is she will go and find you a better mortgage deal.
What's free is sitting down and talking to her and explaining your situation. And Terry Murray will tell you straight up, if I can't help you, here's where you might want to go. Or your existing mortgage is a pretty good deal. Or the bank you're with.
She's told me, well, reach out to your current bank because they may lower your interest rate for nothing.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about Terry is if it costs $3, $4, $5 maybe you have to get a new appraisal, yada, yada, yada. If you've got $250,000 left on your mortgage, you roll it in and $255 at 2% is a lot cheaper payment than $250 at 5%. It's simple math. Very simple math.
If you do the math, chances are the closing costs will be recouped in a few months.
It's the three things, people. The one thing, the two, that's the number two thing. And then three, I mean, we all know that one. I mean, it's like the Pledge of Allegiance. You know that thing. Say it. You know it. It's my Joe Biden. It needs work because I can't slow down enough. Hey, man, you want to do push-ups? You want to do a pledge? Man. Come on, man. Went services for all your generator, solar panels, emergency stuff. Think if you have an emergency, sparks are flying in your garage. First of all, dial 911, get the fire department out there. Second of all, call Went Services. Leo's your dog for you, Ash, running across over there.
Caught my attention. I think it went home.
He's going home. That's our hope.
Thankfully,
our little buddies.
Thankfully, I'm up here.
Right? Poor dog. Ash is over there trying to lure.
Come here, boy.
Ugh.
No more.
He's got Candy trying to lure the dog into the van. Poor dog. Went Services for remodel work, commercial work, residential work. They do it all, and they are great, great people to work with. I've done it. I've worked with them for years. Ash has had them out to the 2-4.
They wired my shop and did a great job.
Yep.
Listened to what I wanted and said, well, you know what? That one might not actually work there. You might want to put it here. I still have never used it. So it didn't matter where I put it. It wasn't going to get used, but at least it's in a better, I'll be honest though, it's in a better position now where they told me to put it than where I wanted to put it.
True story though. I remember you telling me while they were there, oh man, I don't know. They're talking about moving some stuff around. I bet this is going to get expensive. And the deal ended up being less than you thought it would be and was a better deal for you.
Yeah.
So hats off to Went Services.
But the other one that they told me to move, I use it all the time, and I'm so glad they moved it where it is because so.
And then, of course, our friends at USA Concrete Coatings, Charlie and Elaine Garcia at 578 Home. That'll direct you straight to their office. They'll come out and in one day, in most cases, they can clean, seal the cracks, and put down a tough polyurethane coat in your garage. You can go check out USA Concrete Coatings on Facebook, and you'll see the work they've done. The before and after, it's unavoidable that this raises the value of your home. It just makes things look so much neater and more crisp. You'll be glad you did it.
5 lawsuits have been filed against the voting bill that was signed into law. They're claiming it'll restrict minority and elderly voting.
Why can't they simply say you had items 1 through 8 before COVID? We instilled 4 new things to make 12 total during COVID. But now that we're going to go back to normal, we're going to keep 2 of those things and we'll have 10 things instead of the original 8. This is a winner for everybody.
It bans drive-through and 24-hour voting, which I think basically came about because of COVID, which I've never quite understood.
24-hour vote. Who needs 24-hour voting? You can early vote even if you work shift work.
I'd like to see the numbers of those who actually voted outside of normal voting hours at polling places. I bet you it's negligent.
Well, if you
negligible.
If you count the Dominion software, some people came in around 3 in the morning.
Well, that's true. And then when you woke up, the vote tallies were completely different.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, but I love how the Dallas Morning News just frames this.
You hear that?
At least they call it the elections bill. They didn't call it the restrictive election bill like CNN was.
Georgia said that Houston was the only city that had 24-hour voting. Come on over, man. We're going to have a couple of 40s and go vote. Lorena Bargerbrook says, tell us about the Rock the Yacht Party. Well, I don't know what to tell you, except it's just going to be
a grand old time.
It's like a Jewish honeymoon. It's going to be terrific. It's going to be terrific. It's going to be terrific. Any day now, any time now.
Don't oversell and underperform.
Right, no, it's right. Leave me out of this.
That would be a Jewish honeymoon.
It's going to be great. The band is coming in.
Joke, right?
Right. The band Rewind is coming in from the Valley. Rewind because they play a lot of your old rewound hits.
Yacht rock.
But they do
yacht rock.
Yeah, they're going to play. They're going to play some Eagles. They're going to play some Steely Dan. Some KC and the Sunshine Band. They're going to play some YMCA. They play a little Journey. They play some more modern country. They do sets. They got some Blue Moon. They'll have some of that. They'll do some stuff that you'll just be like, wow, that's really cool. Mostly a dance-driven beat type stuff. I think it's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
And a different sound, we've heard
at Club Westner, October 8th, 7:30 to midnight.
We've all heard the local bands, We've heard
a lot of fun.
It's going to be
a blast. I know. It's just a party.
Yeah, it'll be a good
We're not trying to raise money for anything. We're not even trying to make money on this thing. We just want to cover our costs and have a party for all of you who tune in and have helped us get to 5 years.
And we would love
on the Wade and Carter show.
We would love for every one of you to grab 4 or 5 people.
And maybe we're being presumptuous because 5 years isn't actually until November 1st.
Yeah, but we're a
little early.
We think we're going to make it.
We think we'll make it.
Well, by then we'll be prepaid through November.
Yeah. Mark Kurtz says he's in. Pencil in another keg.
It'll be great. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So Kamala's done her thing. We talked about Caldo Wednesday. We talked. Now Astros
Oh, I
won
wanna-
last night in
yeah.
10, 6-5.
I want to bring this up. A buddy of mine, Cheryl, pointed this out, and I hadn't really paid attention to the lockdowns that are going on in Australia. But Cheryl pointed this out. A country of 26 million people, so a little bit smaller than Canada, they've got about 600 active cases of COVID. They're on an island. So a buddy of mine that lives there checks in, Blair Moses. Don't know if he's in
600
this morning,
cases
something
isn't
like
very
that. No.
much. That's not much.
So she asked me, she goes, hey,
We got 800 in VISD,
Yeah, I know.
Ash.
And-
800 in
and nobody
VISD.
in VSD. But anyway,
I digressed for you.
yeah, thanks. So she's like, how's Blair doing? I said, why? She goes, oh, the lockdowns are ridiculous. And so I messaged him last night and said, hey, what's been going on down there? What's with this crazy lockdown stuff I keep hearing about? And he goes, mate, because he's Australian now, mate, we've been in lockdown now for about 10 weeks. We have another 5 to 6 weeks to go. It's brutal here.
It's brutal.
Different state leaders are making different rules. His daughters live in Queensland, and their premier has decided she wants to have no cases ever in her state, which is never going to happen, folks. This is a virus that's mutating constantly, always evolving. It's like a flu virus, but not the flu. Can't call it that, but it's like the flu virus in that it's evolving, mutating. It's changing. So our vaccinations are never going to keep up or even catch up. They'll help. But anyway, he says the premier has decided she wants no cases ever in her state. And until COVID is eradicated, the borders are closed. Can't get in, can't get out. It'll never be eradicated. They have literally put up concrete barricades and police officers at every road heading into Queensland. Western Australia and Tasmania have taken the same approach. He goes, I will be allowed to get to Canada before I will ever be allowed to see my girls again. It's an absolute gong show. They're arresting people. Cheryl was telling me they've got camps. You can't even quarantine in your own home anymore. They've set up quarantine centers. This is where you go and quarantine.
That's where Biden's going to send us to reprogram. Tasmanian devil.
And
Look bad, right?
And where's the outrage by the rest of the world? I mean, this is ridiculous.
They're after him, Brother G. Go Tigers.
And don't think that some of those ideas haven't been bandied about over here, mate.
This head coach, Ed Osheron, I want to tell you guys, go Tigers. He can't win. He can't win.
Talk more about him tomorrow.
We will talk about him tomorrow. I
2
think
years removed from a national championship, and they
he's on
already
his
want
way
him gone.
out.
They want him
OUT
gone.
out. They're going to boot him.
What are you going to say about that?
They keep thinking, well, I got to go, Tigers. Hey, we got to go. The brother man and the Hall of Famer, Ralph Salazar, will be in here in a minute. Ralph was in rare form yesterday. And, you know, Ash, when we leave, make no mistake, they talk about us. I heard them. They were talking about how old we are, and they knew it. Gary knew that I was 58, but he said that you had to be like late 40s. No, he's 51.
I'll take mid-40s.
Mid-40s. Well, I know that's how old we're all getting. I'm starting to get now where, like, I don't even complain. People open the door for me. Thanks, son. I just walk on in. I mean, you know.
He asked me what he could do with a bunch of soft bananas yesterday, a little bit overripe. I said, mush them up and eat them with your dentures out.
I'm just like, I'll walk into
Tough
a
love,
store.
brother. Tough love.
I'll walk into a store and like that guy that he's 10 steps ahead of me. It's like he looks back and he'll see me and he'll wait.
Hold
And
the
he'll
door.
hold the door. And I'm like, thanks, buddy. I'm like, come on. Every now and then I pop him and go, get on in there, man. I can open my own
Walk
door.
into HEB and they hand you the Depends coupon.
Exactly. Sir, today. Yeah.
Can
You
help
go to
your
the movie
abundance.
theater, they ask you what the senior discount. No, that's right. I'm very immature for
You
my
are.
age.
That's a good thing.
Folks, we
Keeps you
love
young.
you guys. Y'all have a great day. Stay